What's happening YouTube? Ryan here for Tri-Crow Studios. Today I'm going to go over a few basics on what you'll need to have to start your very own home studio. Okay, so the first thing that we need to identify here to get you started with your home studio is what type of computer you use. Whether it's a MacBook Pro, an iMac, a Sony Vaio. Do they still make Toshibas? I don't know. Whether you're using a Mac or a PC, you just need to know what you're getting started with. So you need to look at available ports. Big thing here is most interfaces are usually USB 2.0, Firewire or Thunderbolt. In my case, I am using Thunderbolt, but I have used USB 2.0 and Firewire in the past. Now the main difference here is speed. So this translates from your audio interface into your computer, and it'll actually let you know if there's going to have to be a time delay. So if you're hearing my voice right now, if there was a time delay, you would hear my voice and then you'd hear my voice right after it. So it'd be like a couple of milliseconds of delay. Now usually you would hear USB 2.0, Firewire, and then Thunderbolt are the fastest. That is true. However, a lot of interfaces you need to look at the Firewire speed. If it's Firewire 400, it's not as fast as USB 2.0, whereas Firewire 800 is. Now, Thunderbolt is faster than most of them. If there's a USB 3.0 interface available or a Thunderbolt, those are probably going to be your best choices. Now the next thing that you're going to be looking at is still involved with the computer, and that's going to be your DAW. That stands for Digital Audio Workstation. This is what you actually interact with on the computer, so it's the software that you record into. You're going to hear a whole bunch of things with Pro Tools, Reaper, Logic, FL Studio, which used to be Fruity Loops. It doesn't matter what software you use to start out. The biggest thing that you're going to look for is what's easy for you. What's going to have the available options that you believe that you need. So the best thing for you to do if you want to get started there is go on YouTube, go online, and take a look at screenshots and videos of how to use different DAWs and choose the one that's going to be the best for you. Next up on our list is the audio interface. This is what communicates from you to the computer. So your actual instruments plug in here. So whether you're using a microphone or you're plugging in a guitar or you're plugging in a keyboard or what have you, this is what sends the information to the computer. Now you need to know whether you're going to use a smaller interface that only has a few inputs on it, or if you're tracking a whole band including a drum set, you may need a bigger audio interface that has more inputs in it rather than something with less. Now the next thing that you're going to be looking at for your audio interface is how it connects. This particular audio interface connects through Thunderbolt. Now if you do not have a Thunderbolt port on your computer, you're not going to be able to use that interface. So what you need to do is check whether you have USB 2.0, Firewire, or Thunderbolt. I used for years, probably 2 or 3, I used a USB 2.0 audio interface that was $200. I didn't need to have something that was $1,000 or $2,500. I upgraded because of my needs. The next thing on our list here is microphones. Now you may just be someone who's adding a guitar part to someone else's recording. Maybe you've got bandmates that are sending you recordings and you're just adding on to it. You've got to make that decision whether you want to record DI, which is direct inject, which just means you're plugging your guitar cable into your audio interface, or whether you're going to actually mic that amp. If you mic your guitar amplifier, you may need to get just a basic $100 dynamic microphone. You can go a lot more expensive than that. If you're recording acoustic, you could also go with one of these, or you can go with a condenser microphone. These will actually, I prefer these for acoustics. I feel they pick up a lot more. You do not have to get a very expensive microphone. This is not very expensive, it's about $1,500. You can just go out and get a $200 condenser. The Rode NT1A is, I'd say, tried and true. I've had it for years. It's not very expensive and has got great sound quality to it. This is not all about recording guitars, however, so if you are recording a singer, which is most likely, you are going to have to make your choice between these type of microphones. To start off with a $100 microphone, that will get you going and that will get you using the software and getting used to using what is available to you. You can move up to a condenser microphone, which might be a better choice for a vocalist, depending on the vocalist, or you could even go out and get a more expensive one. The big thing with microphones that you have to look at is how your room actually sounds, and we'll get into that at a different point in this video. Another part that you're going to be looking at with microphones are going to be whether you're using a dynamic or a condenser. The big thing here actually depends on what is available on your audio interface. So if you're using a dynamic microphone, you're not going to need to use the plus 48 volts phantom power. If you are using a condenser, it means you're going to use an XLR to XLR type cable because you're going to have to push power through that. Now, a general microphone cable could just be an XLR, which is this part here, to a TRS, tip ring sleeve. So that's just the quarter jack input. So your guitar cable type of input. Now, these type require XLR to XLR to carry phantom power. When you're looking at XLR, from what I've read, from what I've actually been told when I was younger, is that XLR doesn't really stand for anything. The L and R stand for left and right, where the X means ground. So it carries power through the cable. So you're going to have to use that 48 volt phantom power switch on your audio interface to power one of these, and you're going to need a XLR to XLR cable rather than an XLR to tip ring sleeve cable. Now we're going to get to personally my favorite part, which is mic preamps. Now, the big thing on this section, you need to know you don't actually need a microphone preamp. You have them built into the audio interface that you purchased. Now, that being said, there is a lot of value that you can actually get from getting different types of microphone preamps. I myself have quite a few. Now this is a tube preamp, so it'll actually give you a warmer sound from your microphone. This may be good, this may not be good. It all depends on the sound that you're looking for. You can also get just a regular transistor-based microphone preamp. Again, you may not need them. However, what I highly suggest, if you're actually at that phase or that point where you're looking to get different types of microphone preamps, but you're not sure what to get. You're not sure whether you want to spend $1,000 on this or if you want to spend $2,000 on that or just $500. If you're looking to upgrade to different microphone preamps, I highly recommend picking up an API lunchbox. What this is here, it allows you to purchase different types of microphone preamps, and you'll actually be able to use them in your studio, and they're all in one spot. Now, you don't have to use the rack ears here on this. You can actually, it generally comes with a handle, so you can actually take that with you if you've got a portable setup. It's really great if you're used to having certain types of preamps. Now the big thing here is the 500 series modules, so the little tiny preamps that you slide into this device here, they're cheaper because they're all powered by the one device. So if you're looking to actually expand and you know that one day you're going to have a whole bunch of microphone preamps, or you're not sure which preamps to get, an API lunchbox is the great way to start. And it may seem a little expensive in the beginning. However, once you've got this, you know that every time that you go to purchase a microphone preamp or a compressor or anything else in the future, you are not paying for the powering of the unit. You're paying for a smaller unit rather than a larger unit. A lot of times you don't actually need that larger unit So you can actually get this, and it saves you money in the long run, and it gives you a whole bunch of variety. Now, that being said, microphone preamps, what they do is they'll actually boost a signal. So if you're using a condenser microphone, this microphone here has a larger capsule to it. The transistors that are built into it actually carry a larger signal than a dynamic microphone. So if you're using a dynamic microphone like the SM57 or one of the mics that I use myself that needs a lot more volume, the SM7B, then you're going to need to use a microphone preamp, because you're going to have to crank the gain on the built-in preamp there that you have, and you may not be able to get enough volume with it, or it may not translate properly. So when you're using a microphone preamp, an external one, you have more control on the overall volume. Next up on our list is a big one, and it's something that a lot of people tend to forget about when they're starting their own home studio. Cables. So you are probably going to need a whole bunch of these. You can even go up to these. As I was saying earlier, with the microphones like condensers that require phantom power, you're going to need an XLR to XLR cable. If you're recording a drum set and you're using a lot of microphones, and some of them are condensers, you're going to need a lot of these. The other choice that you have, if you're using a dynamic, you can use XLR to TRS. So that's your tip ring sleeve, your quarter jack. Again, you're going to need a lot of them if you're going to be recording multiple inputs with dynamic microphones. One thing that I can highly suggest to someone who's using something like the Lunchbox, or if you're using a lot of different inputs, I highly recommend getting a snake. If you have a DB25 input, like you do on the Lunchbox, I highly recommend getting DB25 cables. So you can get them to go to tip ring sleeve for your line out inputs, and you can get them with XLRs. So the female XLRs, this is a really good idea if you're going to be using a patch bay. Now it's not something that is necessary in a studio, but it is something that'll be really easy if you're managing multiple outputs, multiple inputs and outputs when it comes to compression or anything like that. So again, if you're starting a home studio, do not forget about your types of cables. You do not have to start out with high-end cables. That's something that if you get a high-end cable later on when your ears are trained and you compare it to an older cable, if you can tell the difference in the signal, then it's something that you want to look into actually upgrading your cables. Next up on our list is headphones. Now, you can get a whole bunch of type of headphones, and they will make your mixes sound amazing. However, the big thing here is you need to look at how flat the response is on headphones. If headphones sound amazing in your ears, and the headphone mix sounds amazing in your ears, it may not translate over into any other type of stereo system, because these have different responses for different frequencies. You'll hear different things like beats. Beats can be, have a lot of high end to them, they have a lot of bass in them. So these could be tricking your ears. So you may want to get something like these. These are Focal Spirit Professionals. They are very flat in response, and if there's a problem in your mix, you'll be able to hear it with these. These AKG K99s, they're a great headphone. However, they're not extremely flat, so it may accentuate different tones, different frequencies that may trick my ears into hearing something different than what will be coming out of speakers. The other thing to really think of when you're using headphones, there are closed back and open back headphones. So if you're recording something like an acoustic guitar or you're recording yourself singing and you have the audio loud in these, it's actually open on the sides, so that will actually translate into your mix. Now this may be a good thing for reference point. I don't really see a way that it is. However, it could be bleeding over into your mix into something that you do not want into your mix. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you have closed back headphones, there's a less of a chance of that happening. Last on our list here, special consideration to a few other things, whether you're using plugins or whether you're using hardware for compression and limiters and different things like that. That's something for another day. You don't necessarily need that. You don't necessarily need to actually have hardware. You can use what's built into your DAW to actually get compression and limiting and stuff like that. The last thing, and this is kind of a goalie for me, so this is the last line of defense before something comes out of a studio, is going to be your monitors. So you don't have to have the most expensive monitors in the world. You can get something that is like $900 for a pair. You can get something that's $200 to start out for a pair. Or you can get something that's like $1,600 for a pair. The big thing for you is going to be looking for monitors that have a flat response to them. Again, this is just like the headphones. If you're hearing something through your ears, your last line of defense is going to be the monitors. But if they are also accentuating certain frequencies, or they have trouble producing certain frequencies, that's going to be troubling to you, because you may have an awesome mix on your monitors, but when you go to someone's house or you go to a car, it doesn't sound that great. If you get something that has a really great flat response, or even better, has different frequencies on the back that you can cut in and cut out, so this is your room, that is going to be something that's extremely helpful for you. Something else to keep in mind here with your studio monitors is the type of cables that you need. You may be lucky enough that your monitors use just regular tip ring sleeve cables, so like speaker cables, kind of like your instrument cables. So you'll have probably a whole bunch of them lying around. You may have an XLR input going into another XLR output on your audio interface, or like me, you'll have a male XLR to a male TRS cable. Now these are monitor cables. They're not the same as microphone cables. They may look the same, but they're not, because these have both male ends, whereas an XLR to XLR will generally have male to female. So be mindful when you're actually using your audio monitors, your studio monitors, what type of cables and what kind of inputs are on your audio interface. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this video wasn't too long. I tried to keep it as brief as I could. There are a few honorable mentions that I wanted to put out there. Now, because I don't own my walls, I'm living in a condo that I'm renting. I unfortunately cannot put up sound treatment. So a lot of you guys will think like, oh, foam on the walls, stuff like that. I'm talking about pretty much that, but bass traps and certain things to block off reflections. One of the big things to remember here, it's actually better for your sound to spend $100 on your wall than it is to spend $100 or even $200 on a microphone preamp. So when you're actually recording, when you use your microphone, if it's not a dynamic and you don't have something blocking you, please, if you own your walls, pick up sound treatment. It's really going to have an effect on your mix. And again, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. There will be more to come here on Tri-Crow Studios. It hasn't been too long. I'm probably running down the clock as I speak here. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you do subscribe to our channel here.